Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
I laughed. It was enjoyable.
Yeah. We had to edit that so much because it would have kept bursting out laughing.
I couldn't tell. It was well edited then.
Yeah, and I was using Movie Maker too, so it was not a fun experience. Anyway, so let's get this thing started since Milan's probably got places to be and I got stuff to do, and Ian's Ian, so whatever. Anyway, so hello everyone. I am Zazubar, and welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. Joining me as always, I have Sid Part 2.
Hello.
And Milan Jeftik, 1992.
I am the Scarlet Prince of the Third Dimension.
No, you're not. Anyway, so...
I am too. Shut
anyway,
up.
So at the end of last week's video, I got to pick the topic. And the topic I decided to pick, as Ian himself put it, the master of Geeky Gentlemen put it, we are getting fucking meta next week. And indeed we are. Because tonight, ladies, gentlemen, troglodytes, cyclopses, and
hyper-intelligent dogs.
And any other animals that walked in.
Don't forget werewolves.
And werewolves too. How could I forget werewolves? Anyway, so today we're going to be discussing reviewing, which is what we do every week on this show, in some manner of speaking, what we base the majority of our YouTube channels around, and something that has exploded is an understatement, has completely consumed the universe over the past couple years with the advent of the YouTube reviewer and the blogger. And what I want to talk about today specifically, since obviously reviewing is a broad topic, so what I want to kind of talk about specifically is a couple things that have been rattling around in my brain lately. The first one being, what kind of things is it valid to review? Can it be anything? Or one thing that jumped out to me was, like, is it okay to review something that's non-fiction? Like, I reviewed River Monsters once, and in the video I was like, this is something very strange to review. So I want to talk about that a little bit. You know, I'm sure we'll get into all three of our specific reviewing styles and why we think they work, and what, you know, basic parts of reviewing work in all reviews, that kind of stuff, non-scripted versus scripted. We'll get into all this stuff. And we'll also try to work in the climate and the culture that is built up around reviewing, you know, with channels like Geekvolution, and websites like that guy with the glasses. But, where I think we should start, is kind of the base question. What can you review?
Can I start with this, please?
Sure, Milan.
Well, this, like you said before, this whole, you know, idea, well, this whole concept of reviewing, like internet reviewing, is just kind of exploded, like you mentioned. And yes, there is a limit to what you can review. Well, not really, but I think reviewing, in a way, has become sort of like entertainment and kind of become how people get to know each other, because it's become the obvious, like, you meet some guy on YouTube and you watch his videos and he tells you what he likes, and it's basically the two kids saying, hey, what do you like? I like this thing and this thing. And you say, oh, I like this thing too, let's be friends over Skype, yada yada yada. That's how we met. But there's a limit to what you can review seriously. I mean, you can obviously review a chair and have it be kind of tongue-in-cheek because it's a chair, you sit in it.
I'm going to disagree with you, Milan. I think, to answer Bill's question directly and straight to the point, I think you can review anything that has been produced with intent.
I disagree because I think reviewing, you know, kind of I think review kind of lends itself better to pop culture. But if you can review,
sure, but I mean, then how do you talk about, you know, clothing reviewers or tool reviewers?
Well, clothing, I would say, is part of pop culture, but tool reviewing is a great point. Because I think we're associating reviewing with the kind of reviewing that we do. We review comic books, we review movies, and yes, that's kind of the focal point of this video, but at the same time, reviewing is a much broader idea. And
so it's all depend what's your niche. So if you're like a reviewer of specific tools or you know, car parts. So in that case,
like,
anything.
I mean, you know, I know a couple guys that review camera pieces. I know a couple guys online that, I know one guy that reviews, or no, not guy. I know a girl that reviews beauty products. anything that has been produced with intent or purpose is something that can be reviewed.
I completely agree with you. I think that there is a wide, just nearly unlimited amount of things you can review. And intent is a humongous part of it. It's like, as long as this thing, like, let's say we're reviewing my iPhone. You know, and Milan, I'm going to pretend for a minute that it's not connected to pop culture just to prove my own and Ian's point. The iPhone was created with the intent of communication. And obviously it's got a bunch of other stuff beyond that, but the sole, basic, fundamental intent of the iPhone is communication, and whatever branches off from that might be in place with the iPhone.
Are you sure, Bill? I thought the point of the iPhone was to give you something to do on the toilet.
That too. Well, again, Ian, it branches off from communication. I would say that that's communication.
I agree.
Playing
but
Angry Birds on the toilet for like 40 minutes and realized about 20 minutes into it that I don't have to go anymore, but I'm doing really well, so I don't want to stop to wipe my ass.
that's the nature of today's American male.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I do that, so yeah, you're not wrong. Anyway.
The sad thing is that I've never played Angry Birds ever.
It's not very fun.
That's not a sad thing. It's like Castle Crusher just with birds.
Oh, anyway, well,
go on, Bill. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's okay. It's fine. I appreciated that humor. That was nice. Anyway, so the sole purpose of the iPhone is communication. So no matter how good the Angry Birds app is on that phone, if it fails at communication, it fails at its intent. So it's like, I think that in that case, as long as something is made, this is the purpose it's supposed to function as, then I think it can be reviewed. And one interesting thing we can kind of get off of that kind of nature of reviewing is like art. Because artists usually don't tell you their specific intent with a piece because they want you to do that for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we discussed in the Death of the Author video, is that that most times things aren't successful if the author or the creator is directly communicating their intent, but it was still made with some kind of intention. Even if that intention was, in what I consider the highest form of art, purely to please the artist themselves. You can still review its worth to other people.
So basically, what you're saying is, with the advent of the internet reviewer, the appreciation for art and basically any sort of mundane minutia has kind of exploded.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a wonderful thing, because you got these people who have appreciations for these kind of odd things, like appreciation for like seriously considering and critiquing something like a camera. Who else in their everyday lives are they going to be able to encounter to bounce off those critiques to? Like, this is a problem I had for years. I would buy a movie or buy something that I absolutely hated or absolutely loved, and would like review it with friends, and they just had no interest in it because that's not a conversation to them. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't care, and it kind of went over their heads, and it always drove me crazy. And that's why I'm so thankful I found you. I became a part of the YouTube reviewer community.
And can I just say something?
Sure.
Bill and I have been making the joke for a couple months now that we should just start recording our conversations, because it turns out just about whenever we talk, we'll get away from it a little bit, but almost every time we talk, we end up reviewing something.
Yeah.
Just with each other.
It's really bizarre. There's very little difference except for we'll, talk some hate about some people when we talk off air.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
The thing is, the strange thing, whenever I and Ian talk about stuff, we don't really review things. It just kind of devolves into this weird, nonsensical, labyrinth of madness. But that's just me, I suppose.
Sometimes that happens to us, too.
That happens with me, too. See, Bill brings out my analytic side, and Milan brings out that I'm just going to sit here, stare at the wall, and let my mind wander side.
Have you guys talked about the philosophical implications of a fly yet?
Oh, many times. Many times.
Ian,
Oh.
what is the philosophical implication of a fly?
A fly as in does?
Yes.
Okay, the philosophical implications of a fly. Well, it exists, unless, of course, you are like Descartes and you don't think it exists because you have no way of proving its existence outside of your mind. The fly is also an argument from the naturalist, saying that you can argue Darwinism with the fly. It's actually not a bad metaphor because people like to compare, or some philosophers like to compare people to insects. Usually the one people go to is ants, but personally I prefer the fly as the example for people because they have the ability to go anywhere. I mean, it can fly, it can do just about anything it wants, and it chooses to hover around a pile of shit.
See, everyone, this is why we keep Ian around, because we have these kinds of things come up.
Well, basically, from my
Aside from the fact that
concept,
this is on his channel, that too.
yeah, but my concept of a fly is basically, Ian, everything you said was completely wrong because everybody knows that flies are a part of a giant hive mind organism brought here by an alien from Venus in order to
Cyberborg.
Exactly, the cyberborg. Thank you, Bill. They're brought here to basically consume all our feces, and it's not right. We gotta stop these little bastards.
I agree. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, they're communists.
Fucking stop the flies. I mean, this is coming from Milan, man. He knows shit, so you gotta rise up against
Milan
them.
is the leading expert on universal theories.
Indeed.
Very
And
true.
everybody knows that flies are, communists.
Oh, flies are definitely communists. I mean, have you seen?
So is it just me, or has this video gotten very, very far away from the
Oh,
topic?
I agree.
Anyway,
in an almost unsalvageable way.
Let's
Okay,
come
anyway.
back to the topic. I think we were talking about we were talking about how conversations that we had with friends were so frustrating because we would start to get into what would later become reviewing things, and it would kind of go over their heads. Is this something that you guys kind of struggle with as well, or am I alone in this?
Well,
basically,
it's
the thing is
go
with
ahead.
me. Sorry. The thing with me is that I don't have I have friends besides you guys, but they're very kind of conservative.
Sure you do.
Well, shut up.
Sure you do.
Shut up. They're very conservative Russian guys, and I don't talk to them much as I do you guys, but we don't really have much in common because sure I can make a couple of weird jokes and that's about it, but we don't really have anything as in common as I do with you guys. We have both have personalities that kind of spark off each other. I mean, Ian's the philosopher, Bill's the all his heart in Godzilla fan who's just so incredibly honest, and I'm the schizophrenic. But so we have we have a spark. We have some sort of character intermingling.
Yeah,
but
that's something I agree with. That's what I think really works about the show. Just to review our review show for briefly, I'm a very big into the ideas and the themes of something, right? Bill's really good at the detail work on things, especially when we get into things that are really in his wheelhouse. He's really good at the details and the factoids of things. And Milan's really good at just comic relief, but also at some very insightful and interesting thoughts that just pop up every so often. So it's really interesting to get into that. And Milan also has the technical know-how on technique and art sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the
sometimes.
other day. I came up with, if we ever had a poster, if our show ever got put on a box set, I imagine that the cover would be this. It'd be the normal title card with the slogan, "The Philosopher, the Fanatic, and the Madman."
oh, that is delightful.
That's sexy.
Thank
oh
you.
my god.
Thank
Milan,
you. I'll be
please
here all
work up-
week.
Please work up something that has that. That's cool.
Oh, I will. I got it now. But the thing is, back to reviewing. It's interesting that Ian's. Oh, sorry, I can hear myself echoing.
It's not me.
Oh, shit. For me?
I think so. Yeah.
Damn.
Okay, now I can hear myself. That's fine. But basically, how Ian says that he thinks the reviewer is kind of, well, the critic is the is the failed creator, because a creator
More
doesn't
as a
really,
joke, but yes.
yeah, but and it's
Yeah.
interesting because once we talk, okay, everyone, I'm just gonna say it, because even Ian told me about the nostalgia critics kind of when he tried to branch out from the nostalgia critic persona and Channel Awesome and tried to create his own stuff. People kind of shot it down, and so he had to by default revert back to his nostalgia critic fame. But the thing that's, I hate to say like, oh, nostalgia critic can't create things, but it's obviously he can. But it's interesting that creators who are critics and who have trouble creating things that are not criticisms, they kind of create, they express themselves creatively through their criticism.
Right. You guys ever think that it's because they're scared?
Not really. It's just I think it's just
Maybe, but like that brings up a point that I kind of want to wonder about.
But let me say one thing. It's just it's interesting that all these kind of film school art farty kids who can't really.
I should really find that offensive, shouldn't I?
No,
Probably.
Well, you create things, Bill, so you're not in that camp.
Oh, okay, good.
But it's interesting, like all these guys who bring their like cinema theory and all these intelligent ideas to the table, and who do criticize things that, well, by most people would be considered kind of nostalgic pish. That's just kind of things that don't really bother to be looked over because they're just like 80s toy commercials or whatever, and they're kind of bringing this quasi-analytical eye to their childhoods, even though they're just barely out of college. And I just find that kind of regressive mentality of the modern day young adult to be fascinating.
Yeah. Let me go back to something you were saying about the critic who's the failed creator. I say that more as a joke, but I mean, there are cases where it definitely applies. I think, sadly, that Doug Walker is kind of falling into that, just more from a financial standpoint than from a just artistic standpoint.
Yeah, because demo reel wasn't bad. It was just not popular.
Yeah, but let me say this. Roger Ebert, who just passed, made a film. I can't remember the name of it. And it's considered god-awful.
Oh, man, that sucks. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's like they played a clip from it in Heckler to make fun of him, and Heckler's something I'm going to address a little bit later.
I think naturally.
The question I have, I know I didn't start out on YouTube planning to do reviews. How about you two?
Absolutely not.
The thing with me is I just wanted to make YouTube videos, and reviews seem to be the most popular thing. So but then I don't think my strength lies in reviews. Like I do a couple of quasi-cohesive ones, but they kind of devolve into these insane rants upon the nature of man, or just crazy things
that's just something I find interesting. I mean, we all kind of fell into reviewing. Honestly, I didn't get into reviewing big time. Got done a couple videos here and there. I didn't get into reviewing until I entered Who Reviews the Reviewers.
Really? Because I had been doing it for a year and a half before that.
No, I mean, like, I'd posted a couple videos, but...
No,
honestly,
but I mean regularly.
No, but that's the thing. I posted a couple of videos before that, that would be considered reviews. Like the Wonder Woman pilot was one of them. Alright? But then, I bought Pinching Pennies, the Stephen Maloney and Dan Glazer film. I bought Pinching Penny, and I wanted to do a review of it, because I was really excited for this movie, and I wanted to get my thoughts out on it. And I thought, well, this contest is having entries. I probably won't get in, but if I post a review as a video response, it'll get more views, and that'll help out the film. And then, bam, I'm in Who Reviews the Reviewers. And they're saying some, like, the most fascinating things to me. Like, I think my favorite thing I ever heard said on that show was in my review, Immortal, the review about Kubrick. Vince said, now, all his visual stuff is great, but it's icing on the cake compared to what he's saying. And I was like, that makes me feel so good.
I had a similar thing because, I've kind of stopped scripting reviews since I was on Who Reviews the Reviewers, because I just stopped liking the way I sound when I talk over a script. And one thing though, when I was still doing it back when I did the Dane Cook overview, ironic that me and Ian point to the same round where we actually tied for the win.
Was that us? See, that kind of annoyed me. I could never get top banana by myself.
Me neither. The 2 times I got it, I was tied with somebody. I was like, fuck me. Anyway, I'll take it. Anyway, so the thing they said about mine that really kind of like, oh, that's so cool. I never thought anyone would like be that, like, you know, analytical of it is they were like talking about how they like the structure of it. I'm like, structure? I just kind of did verbal vomit. And I kind of edited it so it would fit 4 minutes. And the one thing they addressed was like, I love those opening jokes because they established the structure for the whole video. I'm like, wow, I never thought of it that way, but he's kind of right, and that wasn't my intention at all. So I always found that very fascinating. And it's something that I've been, as you know, trying to get into film. With Werewolf of Carl Place coming up, it's been something I've been hearing a lot more about my stuff. It's like, oh, this stuck out to me. I'm like, I did not even intend that, but that's interesting.
With me, I can't really remember any good things they said about my style, but the one thing that I do remember is that
they praised your metaphor, and that's something anybody should do when talking about Melanjeftic.
Yeah,
and they mainly I only kind of hanged on by the skin of my teeth.
Hung on.
You know, just because I'm, you know, hung on the skin of my teeth because of my visuals, but then that didn't you know, cut it, so I got voted off. But anyway, how I started out reviewing is basically, it wasn't because I wanted to give my opinion on things, because I saw there were better reviews of the same things I was doing out there, more informative, more well thought out. I just wanted to, I think many people get into reviewing because, like I said before, they want to just get that out there, like, oh, I like this type of thing. If you like this type of thing, maybe we can, you know, start talking in the comments and make new friends. And I think that's one thing that YouTube really does, you know, make a lot of friendships, because, you know, people tend to get attracted to their own little private, you know, niche community, or, you know, surrounding a certain thing, like BS comics or whatever. But, you know, with me, I just wanted to see, hey, I like this type of stuff. Do you like this type of stuff? And I think after that, I do reviews on occasion, and I do put a lot of work into them, but people don't seem to care all that much. But
really, I think those get the most views out of your stuff.
Well, the thing is, I kind of fell into doing other things because I kind of lost interest in reviewing. So I kind of, you know, began, you know, voice acting, well, at least putting out voice works that weren't really good, or just, you know, doing other stuff. And I occasionally became, you know, a reader of things, of scripts and, you know, fan fictions and whatever. And occasionally that's one of the things why people don't really like me as a YouTuber all that much, because I'm a clusterfuck of concepts, basically.
I would say I don't think that's a problem for you. I would say that's a circumstance. Because it's like, you know, this is going to get off reviewing a little bit, but the nature of a YouTube channel is something we could also get into a little bit. It's like, you know, YouTube channels are kind of like a TV channel executive producer gone insane. Because there are no monetary restrictions. There's no board that has to vote or approve your decision on putting this show on the air. You don't have to worry about advertising, or at least you didn't. You didn't have to worry about, for a while, copyright. And, you know, all this stuff, and there were very little restrictions on you, and you could post whatever the hell you want. And I think that that's something very, very cool and endearing. And my only criticism of it would be, you know, reviewing once again, is if you do it to the point where, like, a subscriber to you kind of feels like they didn't... It's like... You know, I do feel like subscriptions are kind of cursed in this way of, you know, they watch one video of you, they really like it, and then they want more of that. And they're not necessarily going to get that. And they subscribe to you, and then they get their inbox filled with stuff, and they don't want to watch any of it because it's not what that first video was.
Yeah, I feel so bad for the people that subscribe to me to watch Ian's random questions and are now seeing Geeky Gentleman every time.
And I'm really sorry
let me just put this disclaimer out. Guys, watch more than one video on a channel before you subscribe to it.
Yeah, you gotta be, like, I'm always really stingy with how I subscribe. I'll usually get to that point where I'll watch a couple of their videos, and then I'll see, like, that moment. You ever have that where it's like you're watching a video, and then they do or they say something, and you just laugh so hard, or you just react in a certain way where you're like, subscribe right now?
Exactly. I have that all the time.
I usually only... Sorry, Milan, I just want to say this quick. I usually only subscribe to a channel if I binge watch it for quite a while. And if that happens, then I know, yeah, I should probably subscribe.
Like, with me, like, I do watch videos and I subscribe. Like, I do get that, like, all the time. Like, oh my god, this is hilarious, subscribe. And I do that, but I watch the videos and, like, I try to go through and watch as many as I can, or at least the ones that interest me from the thumbnail or the title or whatever. But with me, I feel so sorry for my subscribers because it's like the majority of them come to see, like, the normal stuff. Like the reviews, and they're just kind of like, oh my goodness, this is so nice, and then they watch through my video playlist, and they're like, oh, what's this? Personal fears, huh? I see monsters coming through the walls, and my mother beat me like a dog. Okay, unsubscribe. This is weird.
It's funny because we've had people on the show who have admitted to this.
Exactly. That's the strange thing is Steve O'Cubed is one of those people, and he's asked for my Skype account, and I gave it to him, but he hasn't made a request, which is weird. I think he's in this weird kind of limbo of hesitation, like should I?
I just forgot. He might be online right now, actually. No, he's not.
No, he's not. I would assume.
Nah. I think he's just sitting there in his basement, all kind of worried, like, should I talk to Milan? He might infect me with his insanity.
He might infect me with crazy, because crazy is a communicable
but let's get back to reviewing.
Yes, fair enough. So let's talk about one thing. This was kind of the first thing I addressed. We talked about overall what can be reviewed. Now I want to specifically bring this up. How do you guys feel about reviewing nonfiction?
Well, I mean, I suppose it's in the way in which you're reviewing it, because I mean, let's go with this documentary I saw about North Korea.
Oh no!
And in this documentary, North Korea, for those that don't know, has a gigantic epidemic of people going blind because they're having cataract problems. And a cataract is something that you can fix by literally walking into a ready-med in the Western world. But because the care is so poor and the country is such a shitball, you have thousands of people in this, or well, hundreds of people in this country going blind for no real reason. And some reporters smuggled some cameras in with this doctor who was going to perform cataract surgeries and teach North Korean doctors how to perform cataract surgeries, and they filmed a documentary there. Now, I could review that documentary and talk about how there's this great scene toward the end where all these people that this doctor has cured are now no longer blind, and the very first thing they do, once they get the bandages off, is look at a picture of the great leader and say thank you. They don't say thank you to the doctor. They say thank you to the great leader. And the reporter made this point where they're wondering if people in North Korea were pretending to be blindly devoted to the Kim Jong family, or if they really were. And during that scene, you see this scene playing where all these people are, like hundreds of people are thanking these pictures of the great leader for curing their sight, even though it's actually their fault that they're blind. The reporter makes the point, I'm not sure if it's either. I think that it's just tragic in this country. I can review it based on, is that good reporting, or is that a fair point to make, or I could review how it's shot, maybe. I could review the questions that she's asking people. I can review the way that it's paced and the way it's edited together. I can review whether or not it was a smart idea to get into that country the way they did, because now, guess what? They're probably not going to let any more doctors in to cure blind people.
The thing is with that, it's always a double-edged sword when you want to review nonfiction stuff, because especially with documentaries, sure you can review them on their shooting style and if this is actually reporting or not, but it's another way of just like you might like a documentary very much, but you gotta really research all the facts in this documentary to see if they're just not making shit up. And
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something that like History Channel is a big problem
exactly,
Yeah.
and yeah, you can do that, and like it is really, really, it's a really difficult thing to do, because if you're not a professional critic who's versed in all the subjects of that this documentary is about, then all you can really do is just I hate to use this word, but just look at this documentary and just say, oh, and just you can't have a serious criticism of it because you're not fully qualified to do so.
I disagree with that only because I think that a documentary at the end of the day is something that is still made with an intent. And I think that anybody can still criticize a documentary if they didn't get the gist. If the documentary did not speak to them in its intention. If what the documentary sets out to do is not accomplished, then I think that anybody who watches it can criticize it for that. Now, whether or not someone can identify the intent, that's a different problem. But here's one thing I wanted to say about this, and I'm going to use River Monsters as an example because that's the one that prompted this idea in my head.
North Korea to river monsters.
Whatever. And from serious considerations to fishing. Anyway, so I was watching River Monsters, and I was going to do I didn't call it a review. I was like Zazubar on River Monsters, where I basically just said, this is why I like it, this is why it's worthwhile, and here are some things that bug me about it. And I think that one thing that's very important to keep in mind when you talk about nonfiction is circumstance. And I agree with which one of you guys made the point that you have to research what happened regarding the shooting of a documentary before you
I do.
I completely agree with that point. I think that that's extremely, extremely important if you're going to get to the point where you're going to say, okay, I'm going to criticize this aspect of the documentary because this bothered me about it. But I say, okay, but then you need to find out why that happened, because in most cases, the documenter had no power over why that happened. If Jeremy Wade on River Monsters doesn't catch a certain fish, then that's not really his fault, because he goddamn tried, and that's what the show's supposed to be. And it would be extremely problematic in and of itself for someone to criticize it for being boring because he didn't catch the fish. But it's at the same time, it's like, it's a docudrama. It's trying to... It's based on our guy's real journey, so if he doesn't succeed in that journey, it's not necessarily his fault. Nothing
Guys,
could have
help
been...
me out. What's this dude's name? Bowling for Columbine.
Michael Moore?
Michael Moore. Wait, what?
Michael Moore.
Yeah, Michael Moore. Okay. That seemed like, for some reason, I'm thinking of the guy from Halloween.
Michael Myers.
Anyway.
Michael Myers directed Billy.
One of the big problems he has is he doesn't lie, but he uses a lot of numbers, and numbers are very convenient because they're always statistics, and you can make statistics say anything, right? So that's like, I agree, Bill, you gotta run the facts, and reviewing a documentary isn't impossible, but it's hard to do because you have to familiarize yourself with the facts of the situation. So it's really odd to do.
Yeah, and that's why I don't do it very often. And when I do it, and I usually stick to it for something that at the end of the day is supposed to be entertaining in some regard. River Monsters is not really trying to say something serious about the human condition. No. It's trying to take you to new places, definitely nourish your mind about things you probably didn't know about the natural world. All these different very cool things and very mind-expanding things. But at the end of the day, you still want to watch it. You still enjoy it. I think that there are documentaries that might not be enjoyable, but they are still good because they're exposing something to you that is important about the human condition. And that's why I think it is more worthwhile to review something like River Monsters than it is to review something like, say, I'm trying to think of like a really
100 Years of Evil?
Oh, God, yes. That was awesome.
Wait,
Hitler was alive for 50 years after World War II.
Wait, hang on, I didn't hear the title.
100 Years of Evil.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyway, no, I agree, Bill. And actually, this is a pretty good point to bring up something that I wanted to talk about because it's a good transition, if you don't mind.
That's fine. You are the
The
host.
documentary Heckler.
Yeah, let's get into that.
I've talked about this a little bit, and the thing is, it's a great idea, and it's really good for about the first half of the movie because it's comedians talking about hecklers, all right? And then, right, maybe first half is unfair. Right around the last third of the movie, the focus completely shifts to focusing on critics, and it compares critics to hecklers. And that bugs me because the thing is, a heckler interrupts a performance or an act or what have you. A critic is talking about the completed piece.
Yes, after the fact.
Mhm.
Indeed.
You don't have to read a review. If you're watching, what's that guy's name who did that movie?
Jamie Kennedy.
If you're watching Jamie Kennedy perform on stage and someone starts making fun of him from the audience, people who were enjoying that performance have to suffer through that, and it ruins the performance. You know, if you see, to use the modern example, if you see the words Iron Man 3 review on Google because you searched up Iron Man 3, you don't have to click it. You can move on and just do something else. You know what I mean? It's like, it is completely
it just drove
different.
me crazy because all they did was talk about how mean reviewers are. And I mean, yes, there's some very bitter, very cruel remarks from the reviewers.
Very true.
Thing is, sometimes they're actually more entertaining than the piece. Jamie
Indeed.
Kennedy sat there and read a review sitting next to the critic that wrote it. And it was a review of his film Malibu's Most Wanted. And in the review it said, instead of spending your $7 to go see this movie, take it, rip it up into little pieces, put it into a bowl, and throw it in the air, and it will be a better use of your time and money. And the thing is, that, in and of itself, was funnier than Malibu's Most Wanted.
Ha! Yes.
Malibu Most Wanted is just, for all those who don't know, it's an opus to Wiggers. White boys who dress like black people.
Yeah, and like, it's just such a weird thing, and Jamie Kennedy's
Wow, 2 shows in a row where we talked about Wiggers.
yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
But Jamie Kennedy just got so, like, he tried to talk about how critics made him feel bad about himself and, like, put him into a depression and stuff.
Oh, wow.
No, I mean, like, yes, I'm sorry that they're mean, but one, you don't have to read it, and two, you should be expecting people to be mean about your stuff.
Not everyone is gonna like your shit, and if you think they are, that's kind of egotistical and just kind of being naive. There is never going to be a movie where every living soul on the face of the planet likes it. It's just not going to happen. And I know
more so than that, though, it's like, dude, even reviewers aren't liked. There are people, like, the thing that shocked me, why did they not mention in that movie, or at least if they did, it was very briefly, the people that argue with the reviewers? Yep. Who here has not gotten into an argument about something you've done a review on?
Oh, never.
Oh, never.
Every review, it's someone else challenges your opinion.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
but the thing,
point. I mean, it's not like we're immune. Like, we just get to sit upon our golden thrones after we review something, and that's the be all end all of our opinion.
No, it's an open dialogue.
Exactly. But the thing is, with this, I really lose respect for artists who say, "Oh, critics are so mean," and there are critics who are just sensationalized douchebags who see. If you're a critic, it's your job to point out the flaws in something, and do it in an intelligent
Milan,
way.
I wouldn't say that if I were you.
Okay, but yeah, that's because I'm not a critic. I'm a fan. I'm a fanboy. I freely admit it. I'm not. I can't.
Who reviews the fanboys?
Exactly.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, see, if you're a professional critic, it is your job to do the review properly and to point out, dissect the act or the piece and to point out all the things that work and all the things that do not work, and do it. And if you can do it, with this a snide kind of a personality, or make it entertaining, that's fine too. But that your whole point,
especially if what you're reviewing was really bad.
Yeah.
exactly. But the thing is, it's gonna just, oh, this is stupid, and give no reason why. Then the review kind of suffers for it,
but
That's
because
not a review.
That's poor reviewing.
exactly.
That's not a review. Saying
Okay.
this is bad, this is good, that's not a review.
I know. Okay, but
Summarizing what happened is not a review.
Mm.
You're just talking. You're just giving your opinion. You're not giving a reason for your opinion. And that's fine. If you get subscribers from that, fucking good for you.
Yeah, I wish.
exactly. But the thing is, so it's really strange when I lose respect for artists who complain and whine about critics. I mean, there are some really there are some really classy freaking comedians who just kind of embrace it and just kind of have their criticisms in a little scrapbook just so that they can look over them and smile. So that I think, if your movie or if your creation can get that kind of a polarizing reaction from somebody, be it positive or negative, it's because if you're gonna have somebody who's really hates your movie, you're gonna have somebody on the other side who really likes your movie. And if your art piece can elicit such a reaction from your audience, then as an artist, I think you've done your job.
Yeah. Let me say this. I don't lose respect for filmmakers or artists who ignore critics, though.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of endearing. It's like, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm just going to produce it, and if you like it, great.
Unless there's one exception. If your criticisms are so overwhelmingly negative that the world feels the need to create a petition so that you can be told to stop making movies.
Well, he's not ignoring them. He's boxing them, so... That's not ignoring them. That's saying, I made a good movie. Come on, let's fight. And then they start fighting, and then he's like, I beat the shit out of you. And they're just like, that says nothing. Your movie still sucks ass.
That's the thing. I just want to go get my ass kicked by that dude and just keep, just as he's beating the crap out of me, just pull a Joker and just be like, you have nothing to do with all your strength.
Are we talking about Urba Bull, the guy who...
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god. That dude is just such a fucking I mean, the fact that this guy actually challenges his critics to boxing match, I think the critics who agree to it are more pathetic than that guy, because why would you agree to this?
In Heckler, they talk about it, and they show some of the guys that have been fighting him, and all of the people that accepted the challenge didn't even watch a movie of his all the way through. And most of them just didn't even watch a scene. They didn't even see the movie before they posted a bashing review. And that is not a review.
Well, yeah. Well, that's I don't know what that is. It's like, how can you review something you haven't seen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will not review the Transformers movies. I will tell you, I think they're probably terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are worse atrocities out there than Transformers. I mean, Transformers is just dumb.
I will not review the Twilight movies. I will tell you that they are probably terrible.
The thing about the Twilight
those
movies...
are the atrocities that make Transformers look somewhat redeemable.
No, the thing about those two movies, the Transformers movie, it's a letdown because it's such an amazing cosmic concept with such a gigantic budget, basically pissed away by a lackluster director. And basically, I think Twilight for me is a more of an artistic endeavor than Transformers, because Transformers, I agree, because basically with the Transformers, they basically took all this, such an insanely huge budget, all this amazing concept, and basically just stomped it into the ground, because what's his name? The director?
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. It's obviously known that that man he hates humanity. But and I mean that literally.
I don't know.
No, I'm serious. It's proven that he's claimed himself that he hates humanity. He sees it as this, he's a pessimist through and through, and he's just engulfed in a, he's instead of blood, he has just this, sour, liquidized contentment for humanity. But so basically,
does he look like a druggie to you guys?
I'm not done yet.
Let Milan finish up, otherwise he'll never get done.
Sorry.
Okay, but basically, with Twilight, it's more of a. My little brother loves fucking Twilight for some reason. That's what he likes. But basically, with Twilight, I think it's a more of a valid artistic endeavor than Transformers, because it knows what it is, and it just doesn't care. It just completely panders to its audience, and it's completely unashamed about it. And the people who do like Twilight, be it male or female, straight or gay, even if you like it, even though it's terrible, it still has that kind of, my little brother and I love to sit around, like during one of the screenings of the movie, I just sat there just making jokes about this movie while my little brother's like, shut up, man, I'm watching. But then he joined in eventually. But basically, it knows what it is, and it's not ashamed about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. Well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Who's ever hosting?
I know, I got it. I'm doing it.
Okay. Blue Dragon 5 wants to Skype in, so Milan, please begin to sing.
Welcome to the Geeky Gentleman, Blue Dragon 5. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I can only sing, Bill, not you.
I'm giving you
Yes.
backup, motherfucker.
No, your backup sucks. Welcome to the show, Blue Dragon 5. Give us your opinion. Well, not opinion, but question. So, yeah, la 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 la, ba-bam.
That fell.
Skype in. Yeah. You ruined it, Bill. You ruined it, Bill.
I did not ruin it. I enhanced it. I'm like fucking like steroids.
Yes. Bill, you are.
Okay,
my
so anyway,
steroid.
Blue Dragon 5, what you got for us today?
Well, greetings, gentlemen. I've been stewing over this topic for a while, and came to this conclusion. The goal of any reviewer or critic is to translate their thoughts and pass judgment on a variety of subjects, whether it be film, literature, food, clothing, etc., you name it. With that in mind, I'd like you, gentlemen, to compare and discuss different ways or methods of review, starting with these three as a jumping off point. Their different styles of review, etc. Captain Logan, The Nostalgia Critic, and Red Letter Media, otherwise known as Mr. Plinkett.
Okay, I've only seen the Star Wars Episode 1 review from Red Letter Media.
That's fine.
I don't even know. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that man.
Okay, well, I'll get into it in a little bit. All right, so Captain Logan is obviously very serious, very grounded, classic analytical style review.
Oh yeah.
Doug Walker with the Nostalgia Critic is a characterized review that's more parody than review necessarily.
It's more MST3K than at the movies.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then Red Letter Media kind of just went through the movie scene by scene and was just as mean as conceivably possible, which is fine because it was the Phantom Menace. Like I believe my favorite line just from the very beginning was something akin to, Anakin Skywalker reminds me of my druggy son that I left in a bathroom in North Dakota 15 years ago.
Subscribe.
Oh, well, what do you think of that sort of stuff in his reviews?
I can relate.
Well, Red Letter Media isn't the worst thing ever, but it's very much a reactionary in a public kind of sense, at least from what I can understand. Like, I don't know if he's saying anything that's valuable in any real way. Like, Captain Logan obviously says very interesting stuff of critical value. Doug Walker, as the Nostalgia Critic, yeah, there's silliness in there, but he says things of interesting critical value.
Usual.
Red Letter Media, from what I've seen, the very little bit I've seen, though definitely their most famous video, is more just kind of like a funny take on public opinion.
Oh, so basically he's liquid hate down into human shape.
Kinda.
Sure, why not?
No, so I mean, you have those three different styles, and I think I'm going to say I love Captain Logan's the most because Superhero Rewind is what got me into reviews in the first place. Very first episode I saw of Superhero Rewind, very first Geekvolution video I saw was the Superman Returns Rewind. And that's what got me into the topic, into Geekvolution, into review, and that's the video that, it was weird. It was the very first video I saw of theirs, and I do this very rarely. I hit subscribe at the end of the video.
With Captain Logan, for me, is just when I first started watching him, is with his movie breakdown, movie rewinds, like you say, with the superhero movie rewind, and it just, I love the fact this man, this just loving man, he's so incredibly intelligent and analytical, and he's so goddamn honest about it. It's like he takes all of our best things, I'm not included in this, by the way, and it just, if it wasn't for Captain Logan, Geeky Gentleman would not exist. And
Yep, very true.
He's like the god, he's like the grandfather of Geeky Gentleman. He's passion, and he's just, he's so incredibly honest and so incredibly intelligent, and he's so, he lets his analytical, review speak for himself. He doesn't need all the bells and whistles from Doug Walker, who just has to, make up, has to basically compensate for his, for his reviewing style by making all these, jokes, which I love, of course. But, Captain Logan.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Bat credit card's funny.
I don't think it's compensation.
Yeah. Let me finish. Yeah, but basically, you guys can talk about Nostalgia Critic afterward. But with Captain Logan, sorry, Bill, sorry. But basically, Captain Logan lets his reviews, speak for him. He doesn't need jokes or gags. He just completely lays out, almost like a professor, technical wise, of his reviews, and it's just fascinating to see. And and it's just he like, if you don't want to give Captain Logan a cuddle, you don't know, like, he's adorable. That man is literally a living cartoon.
Playing to the audiences in different ways.
Yeah, it's up to interpretation there, Milan. Anyway.
But in a good way. He's like, a whatchamacallit.
Okay, let's
Carousel.
Does he wonder why people are scared of him? Because there's no subtlety. It's just creepy.
I mean, I don't mean anything in a creepy sense. I mean, he's just such
Milan,
a sweet guy.
Milan, at what point has that ever worked for you? At what point have you said, I don't mean this in this way, and it did not totally come off in that exact way?
I know, it's like, it's so, I mean, it's hilarious. I would never have you any other way, because it just provides so much comedic gold. But like, he's just like, this, I don't mean this to sound creepy, but this is going to sound completely creepy.
It's like that joke I was doing back a couple months back, where it's like, not to cut you off, but to totally cut you off.
Yeah, I stopped doing that, and I thank every day for it. No,
it's just, I got tired of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
Nostalgia Critic, I don't think the Nostalgia Critic's compensating for lack of things to say. He has some really interesting things to say. I just feel that he likes the humor, and it's that very particular style. And I think actually the humor adds to the review sometimes.
I'm not saying that he's like a terrible reviewer. I love the Nostalgia Critic. He's my child. Well, he's my early adolescence, basically.
Well, here's the thing with the Nostalgia Critic. Before it's straight up review, it's kind of its own TV show at this point.
Exactly.
Just the way it's presented, it's basically a TV show in the same vein of Mystery Science Theater. And me and Manos have actually been talking about doing a video where we discuss some of the validity of what Mystery Science Theater did with certain monster movies and the reaction of some of those creators of those monster movies, and we're going to be discussing that. And to get into that with the Nostalgia Critic, I agree with you. I don't think it's compensation so much as this is supposed to be entertaining like its own thing, but it's based around a review. That's the structure. But at the end of the day, you watch the Nostalgia Critic for the Nostalgia Critic. I don't watch Pearl Harbor because I want an opinion of Pearl Harbor. I want to see the Nostalgia Critic's reaction to Pearl Harbor.
At a certain point, there's that Schadenfreude where you just want to see him suffer.
Exactly, without a doubt. And he's completely accepted that. And he's completely accepted that, and turned it into this certain character who that's the entire point of him. You tune in every week to watch the guy, or every other week now, to watch him suffer, and he's very self-aware about it. I agree that sometimes his review style doesn't work for me because I feel like at some points it's very easy for him to make a movie look really bad when it's actually not. Like he kind of did that with The Dark Knight, and that kind of pissed me off. But
he just doesn't like Nolan's movies.
I know it's bizarre, isn't it?
He just really stuck in nostalgic ways, hence the name.
I guess. I don't know. It's just I've never heard him say a single nice thing about the Nolan film. Not even the Batman films, just Nolan movies in general.
It's so funny because he puts The Dark Knight in his top 10 favorite film list, and he doesn't really say why it's there. He's just kind of apologizing for it being not number one. It's bizarre. But anyway, I want to get off that. But in terms of Captain Logan, I've said it before, so I won't go into too much detail. I think, this being as long of a fan of Geekvolution as I've been and being on this show, he's my favorite YouTube reviewer, overall critic, because he really makes a review.
Fine, Bill!
He's their daddy, basically. He's the big daddy.
Well, he in my opinion, he validated the YouTube reviewer in a way that very few people had actually succeeded. Because
yeah, definitely.
I mean, I feel like, Doug Walker or James Rolfe, these guys, they took reviewing and they took it elsewhere, and to the point where it wasn't really reviewing anymore. Superhero Rewind is still a review show through and through. The Nostalgia Critic, the Angry Video Game Nerd, they've kind of become their own thing. And the thing that they've become is entertaining, but it's not just a review anymore. And it's very difficult for me, at least, to call it a straight-up review, because it's not. Like, to point to an example from Angry Video Game Nerd, he recently posted a video where he talked about the Toxic Avenger games. And there is no way in hell I can call that an objective review, because he's got the creator of the character sitting right next to him. So
yeah, I don't know. Captain Logan's just. I remember when I was watching some of his stuff, it was like this awakening. It's like stepping into a clearing in a forest, to use the Heidegger metaphor. Because it's like, finally, someone that can do an objective review of a film.
He's also, and I agree with Milan, he's so goddamn honest about it. I don't feel like Captain Logan is covering up. There's no like noticeable curtain around his reviews, if that makes any sense. When I watch the Nostalgia Critic and the Angry Video Game Nerd, I see this curtain behind their review. They're covering stuff up. And I really noticed that with a lot of their recent stuff, because it feels it feels overproduced, in my opinion.
Yeah, what you see, like I mentioned before, with James Rolfe and basically the Nostalgia Critic, like I said before, they're film school rejects. Well, I don't mean that in a bad way, but basically
it's kind of a bad connotation, Milan.
I'm sorry, but basically they're film school brats. I think that's what it's called.
That's even worse.
I'm sorry, and that's what they are, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Just go. Just
do it.
Basically, and they are type of guys who want to make movies. You can tell they are. I'm sure in any sort of filmmaking course, I'm sure there's like a course about criticism, and they kind of took a liking to that. But the thing is, their main heart is in making movies or making content for people to enjoy, while Captain Logan, on the other hand, his heart is not in making movies. His heart is in the actual analytical review. He's a reviewer through and through, because sure, he does Spawn here, and that has some visual things to it, but his main thing is critique of the product, of the piece of art. He's a critic, and the best critic there is. A critic who doesn't use sensationalism to cover up their lackluster performance.
He
is
brought
the
class.
Yeah, he's a classy motherfucker. Captain Logan is a classy motherfucker.
I agree
That
with
cannot
that
be
through and
argued.
through.
Exactly, that cannot be argued. I mean, like,
I'd agree with you there. I don't know. Just the way in which you're saying it, it kind of diminishes other reviewers who do ad stuff. Like, look at Maxwell's reviews, which is in very much the same style.
I'm not sure. I know I don't try to demean anybody, but that's just
No, but the way the language you're using is, I mean, you look at Maxwell's reviews, magic shows, which is a very niche thing to review, and it's really cool to see. He plays the clips of the magic shows for quite a long time out of necessity because it's a completely visual medium. And he'll then do jokes about it and intercut with the film, but he'll also tell people why this is a bad act or why this is a bad trick to do or what's wrong with doing a trick this way or why this doesn't make sense because we're trying to establish a story and there's no story going on. He does say interesting things, and it's intercut with, running gags and jokes and stuff. So I don't think that sensationalism distracting from content is really a fair thing to say about people that do that nostalgia critic style review.
I don't think it's less valid. It's not the same kind of just straight up review. You know what I mean? And it's not less valid. It's not bad compared to it. It's just, if you're looking for an analytical opinion of something, I think that for the most honest, raw opinion, you go to someone like Captain Logan and not to someone like the Nostalgia Critic, because you have to understand the conceit that at the end of the day, he has to keep people watching.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People have to keep tuning in every week. He has to entertain them for a half hour. They're watching it like a TV show. Superhero Rewind is not a TV show. It's a podcast. It's someone's opinions brought on video. And I'm not saying Superhero Rewind is not entertaining, but it's entertaining in a different way.
In a professional way.
And it's intellectually stimulating.
Precisely. I don't watch Superhero Rewind and go, I'm just going to kick back, unzip my pants, and listen to Superhero Rewind.
I mean, I've talked to Cap about this. Superhero Rewind is a term paper on a movie.
Exactly.
Every episode of Superhero Rewind is a term paper.
Yes.
An A+.
I mean,
no, not an A+ for every single episode. I'm sorry.
Well, let's
I meant regularly, it's an A+.
No,
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about, and it's a good question to make. Now, moving on to the red letter media, because I mean, you've seen stuff like that where people just kind of get as bitter and as mean as possible about something that's in the public eye. I don't know if I'd really consider that a review. That's just kind of them trying to be funny in a mean way.
Would you consider it more of a, what's it called, a time capsule of how this particular public felt about this particular movie?
I think
maybe.
Well, I think that's more of a sensationalist approach, really.
Well, yeah, for sure, but I don't think it's not bad. It's just not a review.
Exactly, and that's what I mean.
Points.
Yeah, no, but like the point that Ian, and I haven't seen this guy's review, so I can't criticize him for it, but I'm just basing it on what Ian is saying.
Bill, it's longer than the movie.
Well, I do that a lot too, so I can't complain. I did that for almost every episode of Godzilla Palooza, so I'm not gonna bitch at him for that. Especially Gojira. Someone made the joke, shouldn't you just make this a commentary? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so Red Letter Media, based on what Ian is telling me, it's like, I think that at that point, it's like, here's how the culture of the 2000s generation felt about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and here's some funny, amusing jokes built around that opinion.
Yeah.
It's not, here's why that's correct based on my own personal analysis. No, he's taking the public analysis and making jokes about it. I think that's valid. It's just not a review.
And I mean, to be fair, he does say some more stuff than that. That was just the majority of what he was doing. I mean, he played clips from, like, the first... It's really bad. There's video of how the people, like, in the production team reacted to the first screening of the completed project.
Yeah.
And George Lucas did that thing that you automatically know something's, like, there's a 90% chance it's bad when the creator does this. starts arguing why it's actually good. He's
Uh,
like, no, you see, it's bold, and that's what people will like about it. And meanwhile, his, film and editing guys are like, your pacing's just completely messed up here, but actually, I mean, here's Ian's quick review of The Phantom Menace. It is such a bad movie because it is such a well-structured movie. And what I mean by that is all the subplots are so well done in how they're interwoven, and each is very necessary for the others, but they're all so bad.
yeah, I would agree with that. The problem with The Phantom Menace is not that the structure is a mess. It's that the content is not good. There's no content to it. It's all stupid bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing is, it's such a bad movie because you cannot save that movie with editing. It's all so dependent on itself. It's incredibly well structured. I mean, I will give George Lucas credit for that. All the subplots tie together and are very important to the end of the story. But they're all really bad subplots.
It's a well-constructed train wreck.
Yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it. Nice. Anyway, so
Blue Dragon 5, what else did you have for us then?
Well, also, do you think when we watch a review, when we sit down, we pull up a review, do you think we're, in general, people are looking at the review looking for the positive in it or the negative in it? Like, you watch a Jeremy Johns review or some review like you're going to see a movie. You're saying, oh, I wonder if this is good or bad. Are you looking for the good in the review or the bad in the review when you sit down?
I never watch a review before I see the thing. That's not completely true. I try not to watch reviews anymore before I see the thing.
same here.
Afterwards, too.
If I know I'm gonna see it, no matter what a reviewer's opinion of it is, like the 2010 version of The Wolfman, I usually don't care. And if at that point, if I know that I'm gonna go see The Wolfman regardless of other people's opinions, I don't bother watching reviews.
Yeah.
If I don't care enough about Die Hard 5, I'll watch a review before I go see it. I watched Jeremy John's review of Die Hard 5 before I went to go see it. That's why I didn't see it, because I'm like, everyone agrees about this. This sounds like the same way I would react. There's no point in wasting my money on it. I'm just going to sit at home and...
For me, I won't watch a review. Like, alright, Iron Man 3 just came out, and I think I've watched 5 reviews on it now, including Milan and Bill's here. And the thing I noticed is I found myself looking to see if anybody pointed out the major plot hole I noticed in the movie that I didn't point out in my review because it took me a couple hours to catch it. But no, when I watch a review of something I've already seen, depending on how soon it is, I try to see if they have opinions that they express that either I picked up on or that I find fascinating.
Yeah, when I watched...
it could be good or bad.
When I watched Cap and Eric's Iron Man 3 spoiler podcast, I wasn't watching it to see, okay, am I allowed to like or not like Iron Man 3? I was watching it for, I want to see where these guys co-aligned with my thoughts, where they disagreed, why they disagreed, and also, what did they notice that I didn't notice?
Is it just me or does Eric seem very out of practice?
He is.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, because Eric, well, he does have a girlfriend and, a job and a life, so,
I have a job and I have a TARDIS.
No, well, let's not get into that. But when I watch a review, I'm watching a review with the intention of I want to see where they co-align with my opinions, or I want to see what they brought up that I didn't bring up. I don't watch a review for validation. I watch a review for expansion.
Okay.
How about you, Milan?
Me, I'm not really, with reviews, it only has to be of the thing that I like, or what I'm interested in. I just don't go around looking for reviews. Like, if I'm wanting to buy a book or watch a movie, and I haven't had a friend recommend it to me, I'll just go out and see a review of it. Like, what this, a non-spoiler review, obviously. Like for example, like, hey, kind of interested in this particular product or this particular story or this particular book or movie, whatever. And like I don't know much about it, just like the cover or the the concept kind of interests me, but I don't want to spend money on it, before knowing what it is. And so I go to Movie Bob. I trust Movie Bob completely, and so he does like these really very analytical reviews, but with very not exactly well, just visual humor with these sliding cards to give kind of smart underhanded humor. But when he does reviews, I like he breaks them down and makes them sound very smart and to my intellectual side. And I just go out and watch the movie if I like it. Like, I really wanted to go out and see Oblivion in 3D, but now that I've seen a couple of reviews, I'm not quite sure. I still want to go see it out in 3D just because of the amazing 3D visuals, but that's the only reason why I'm going to pay money for it. The story, I don't know, it seems basically Wall-E, but with, what's his name? God damn it, what's his name?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah, it's Wall-E with Tom Cruise. Where no, Tom Cruise is Wall-E.
Okay. I gotcha. And yeah, I feel very much the same way. It's a weird question to ask reviewers why we watch reviews, because we have a very different approach than I think that normal people do. Normal people watch a review to see, okay, is this going to be worth watching for me? Whereas we as reviewers watch it to see, I'm thinking this of it, I want to see if other people picked up on it, or if it's just me being me, you know?
Let me ask you guys this. Do you ever react out loud to something someone says in a review?
Yes.
I did it I was walking to go get food and I was listening to the Iron Man 3 spoiler podcast, and Cap said something that I had the same exact thought of, and I was like, I completely agree. And people looked at me like I was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I just tend to laugh out loud.
That's something else they get weird at you for. Blue Dragon 5, thanks for the Skype in. A lot of fun, man. We'll talk to you later.
Always an honor, gentlemen.
Peace.
Bye, Peace. And so Blue Dragon 5 has left the conversation, and so now we can start getting undressed.
Okay, no.
No.
And
I'm
please
kidding.
don't tell people that. All right, so Bill.
That's something we keep behind closed doors, Milan.
Bill, you wanted to address the culture of reviewing, and I think I think this show indirectly addresses the culture of reviewing, because
I think it's a strange thing for us to get into, specifically because we're a part of it. I've kind of addressed it already, but I want to have it be our focus for a moment, if you guys don't mind. I want to wrap up just like I'm sure Ian does. I can tell by the way he's talking.
No, it's just we're at about an hour and 15, and I feel like we're getting to that point where we're about to start going in circles.
Right, I want to talk about this briefly because I think it's very interesting, and something that has been criticized about the YouTube reviewer is people have claimed that the climate of the YouTube reviewer and the blogger and the internet critic has ruined the motion picture industry, because they seem to think that, like, because so many people converse and communicate and have access to information about a movie before they see it or even after they see it, that it destroys the motion picture industry. And as someone
Kinda.
What?
Kinda.
I disagree.
I completely disagree. Has it changed? Fuck yeah. But I don't think it's changed for the worse. I just think it's changed. No, we can't go see a movie anymore and not see 1,000 people give their thoughts on it in a YouTube video. And if you have a problem with that, then okay,
don't watch
why?
YouTube videos.
Then don't watch. I completely agree. Don't watch YouTube videos, because that's the point of YouTube. Broadcast yourself. Everybody has the opportunity to get their opinions.
It's called YouTube.
Exactly. I don't agree with the idea that only certain people should have the power to express their opinions. I think that that's kind of naive, and I think that's kind of stupid. Because the idea is, and it's like everyone has the ability to pop a thumbnail of Iron Man 3 up and post their a YouTube review. I was talking to Ian, dude. I think we were talking Friday, and we were talking about, or was it Saturday? I don't know. It was one of those days. It was me, you, and Deadpoolzilla, and we were talking about how like we both had like 6 Iron Man 3 reviews to watch because everyone we know saw it and reviewed it.
Like I said, I watched 5.
Yeah, there you go. I watched a couple as well. It's like I watched yours. And you know, some people have a problem with that because they're just like, oh god, everyone's doing the same thing, and I say to that, then you know what? Then you really shouldn't be on YouTube because yes, diversity is great, but I like this culture where we can all be in a group where we all like and watch the same thing, and then we can converse about it. I think that that's endearing. I think that's something that will continue to evolve over time, and I don't think that's ruined the motion picture industry. I think that that's enhanced the appreciation and the reaction to it.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. I think that, one, it's also helped the motion picture industry in a certain way because for the longest time we've had focus groups with people that have no idea what they're talking about, giving suggestions on ways to improve the film, and that's just ruined a lot of films because people fucking listen to those. Films, TV, what have you.
Happens on TV a lot.
When you have all this free information of people giving their opinions, you can actually do data collection and see what the most biting and consistent criticisms are and improve the film in that way, or improve the movie or the series beyond the point in that way.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
it's just...
Like, I honest to God think that the new Godzilla movie has benefited from that.
Yeah. I think that people giving their opinions, voicing their opinions, is only going to help it. I mean, could they overreact and just try to micromanage the crap out of it? Yes. Is that going to happen? Probably not. The day Hollywood listens to Milan is going to be a sad, sad day.
Oh, thanks. Thank
Welcome,
you.
Milan. We love you.
Ugh.
I don't love him.
Anyway, but yeah, it's
That's what
interesting because I agree. It's like, here's this, YouTube has this wealth of information for people saying, this is what I think could really work in the new Godzilla or in Iron Man 3 or in Star Trek 2 or in Batman 3 or Batman reboot, whatever. And you can choose to decide whether or not you think that is going to make the movie more successful. And at the end of the day, we as fans are still at the mercy of the producers, but still, they have access to our opinions more readily, and I think it's become more difficult for them to ignore it.
Yeah, and
I think that's a good thing
too. Is just YouTube in general, or just the online video world, or online publishing. Let me put it that way: online producing and publishing, whether that be comics, books, what have you, has just really kind of taken Hollywood and the production agency down a peg, because you got people like Freddie W. Here's a guy who's right out of college, and he's making all these videos that are getting millions of views, and he's getting a couple $100,000 from ad revenue, enough to start his own series, and it's doing incredibly well. It's on Netflix. Think about that. A show that was on YouTube is on Netflix.
What's this show again?
Video Game High School.
Oh, I saw a poster for that on Netflix.
Yeah. You have Freddie W., who's this kid that, like, I think he started his YouTube channel a year after he graduated from college. That's insane. He's got think about that rise in career. I think reviewing is very much in that same kind of vein. It's the line between creator and audience is disappearing.
I know, right? And like it's you see, if you have a gimmick, you get famous really big, you get really a lot of ad revenue and what have you. Like there's this one person called Comic Book Girl 19, and she just came out of nowhere, and she had like visual style, HD camera, and just a gimmick because she has a giant robot as a friend, and basically she just gives her opinion completely unscripted, and it's fun and it's hilarious. I do recommend that you subscribe to her, but she's like came out of nowhere, and she's doing fucking interviews now with Brian Lee O'Malley and fucking like all these famous comic book guys, and it's like you just literally came. She only started in 2012 or something, and now
Yeah.
she's like bigger than me.
I mean, you look at people like John Green, who, you know, him and his brother start up a YouTube channel where it's just supposed to be them talking. It happens in 2007, called Brotherhood 2.0. Hank Green starts a YouTube channel and sends an email to his brother describing the rules, and it contains the username and password. And the idea is, we each post videos on this channel, and this is the only way we communicate for the rest of the year. And what happens? One of the most successful channels on YouTube. These are the guys that run and organize VidCon. Alright? John Green, New York Times best-selling author now, because of YouTube. That's insane. The line between creator and audience, the line between reviewer and, you know, I don't know what's the word I want for person that tells the studio how to run.
Producer.
Producer.
Yeah, the line between reviewer and producer is just, executive producer, is just breaking apart. And I'm glad.
I agree.
Because that line has been drawn in the sand for far too long, and it needs to change, because Hollywood got to the point where it was limping on before the invention of the net, where movies just kept getting worse and worse throughout the 90s.
Very true.
Not to say we don't have any bad movies, but we...
No, of course not. I mean, of course, there's always going to be bad
There's
things.
never going to be just good movies, and I kind of hope that day never comes where there's only good movies in theaters, because how do you appreciate it as good?
Yep.
But
And that's another thing we
thing
can get
is-
into, but
But the thing is, now with like the superhero boom and science fiction boom, it's just like, and the advent of freaking whatchamacallit, you know, CGI effects that are, you know, finally caught up to the to you know, we can show gods on screen, and it's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the fucking the guys who like say, oh no, you don't want to make superhero movies, there's no money in it, money, you know. Now like we have these creative people who have
Juan
an
has
audience,
turned into John Peters.
who have we have these creative people who have now actual control in Hollywood, these young people with vision. And it's like, now all these, like, you know, money hungry, you know, Hollywood bastards, producers, I call them, you know, are losing more and more power. And the sooner we can just cut them out of the system, like the malignant tumor, like the malignant tumor
honestly,
that they
it
are.
is Kickstarter. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Soon, fucking, those goddamn producers.
The whole point of Kickstarter is to take out the producer and the studio and just make it so that it's creator directly putting on screen what he or she wants for the audience that directly wants it.
fair enough, but I don't think there's ever going to come a day where the producer and the studio has totally died.
Probably not, because they'll always be producing the most wide. They'll be producing the widest array of stuff. They'll probably stop producing the best stuff. I mean, the only reason
That's kind of happened already.
The only reason I think they're gonna stay sticking around though is because of the licensing rights for some major characters that people are gonna continue to want to see on screen, like Batman, like Superman, like Iron Man.
Right. But you know, that's something as well that I think could one day potentially die out, is the whole, we have to be a bitch to this guy because he has the rights to Batman. You know, not necessarily. I think I think there could come a day where whoever does own the legal rights to Batman can be like, hey, this guy with a lot of vision has this great idea for Batman, and he has all these millions of people behind him. Let's just give him the rights and let him make a Batman movie with, you know, and crowd finance it. I think that that's a day that could potentially come, and I think that could be cool. But at the very least, the Hollywood system won't die. It'll probably just evolve.
And guys, we're getting kind of far away from review. I think this is almost a topic in and of itself, the death of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, Bill, is there anything else you wanted to get on, or
We hit all my
points?
We hit all my points, my friend.
Yeah, and I brought up the couple things that I wanted to. Milan, any lingering questions?
Well, lingering questions. Let's see. Well, I just that's well. I think we covered mostly everything. I mean, like, well, what can we say? Reviewing is an interesting art form of the 21st century, and it's become huge and has engulfed the internet.
See,
well,
that's a
thanks
weird
to-
thing that you just said that I'd never really thought of, but it's completely in line with what I've called art before. I've never thought of reviewing as an art form, but it totally is.
Yeah,
That's weird.
to a certain extent, I think.
The way I define art is doing something for the sake of itself, and that's what this show is. I'm not making any money.
I would call the show art. Well, and we disagree on this. I do think you can make money off art.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I don't say that if you're making money off of it, it's not art. I think that art is when you're doing it for the sake of itself, whether or not you are making money.
Okay, fair enough.
Like that's the point South Park made. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it whether or not you're making money. Making money is just a nice bonus. Or you're taking something that people are paying you for and you're making the best out of it. For some different kinds of movies, but that's another topic. Anyway, so that was I like this, so I'm going to say it again. That was the former contestants of the show Who Reviews the Reviewers, who were reviewers who were reviewed for reviewing other things by other reviewers, reviewing the idea of review. Yeah, that actually... And for all of those listeners whose heads did not just explode from trying to track that sentence, thank you for listening. And next week, I've been talking about this and mulling it over for a while now, and I've finally come to the conclusion that, yeah, we're going to do it. We will be reviewing the original film, Highlander.
Oh my.
Born
Yes.
to be kings!
Yes, so we will
And-
be
Singing
reviewing
fucking
the
that
very
song.
first Highlander film, and if either of you have seen the extended stuff, you can feel free to bring it up, but we will not be focusing on that.
Guys, for all our audiences who don't know, look, we are gonna have to kill each other by the end of that. There can only be one by the end of that.
There could be
episode,
only
so-
one geeky gentleman.
Indeed.
No, we
Also-
can't. No, Bill, we can't say Geeky Gentleman because there's a website called geekygentleman.com.
Fuck!
All right, we'll
Damn it,
scratch
we've been
that
made,
then.
boys, we've been made, run!
Anyway.
Guys, so if you want to Skype in, and if you've Skyped in before, that's wonderful. But if you are a listener who wants to Skype in, and you're doing it for the first time, the added bonus for this is that I get to draw you. Well, you can tell me basically you can tell me tell me to draw you, and I will in any sort of way you want, be it as your favorite comic book character, movie character, or whatever. So if you Skype in for the first time, I get to draw you. So there's a little, that's a little gimmick.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening, and until next time, we are your Geeky Gentlemen. Oh wait, hold on. Bill, you totally did that at the wrong time.
I know, never.
Sorry, Bill's distracting me down in the comments bar. Until next time, I am the philosopher.
I'm the
Bill.
fanatic.
Oh, that's how we're doing this? Okay, fine.
That's how I wrote it.
Let's start again. Until next time, I am the philosopher.
I'm the fanatic.
And I am the madman.
We are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
Arrivederci.